Today is part one of a three-part series on building your AI foundation. Our goal really today is to bring AI to your world and how you actually use it. So, I want to set the tone and let you know that this is not a sales pitch. This is not a session where we're going to throw a bunch of jargon or get into the weeds or the specifics around like very, very specific AI tools, right? If you walked in thinking, oh, I'm not very tech savvy or don't know a lot about AI, I promise you're not that behind and you probably know a lot more than you realize already. This is and even if you are, right, this is exactly who we built this for. So, today we are going to walk through part one of building your own AI readiness plan. And you'll hear me refer to that a few times today. And in a follow-up email, be on the lookout. We have actually put together a readiness plan built for you that you'll be able to customize with you and your team over the next few months so that you can have an official AI readiness plan to roll out. So, today is really about one thing, and that's helping you see that AI is really just another tool. And I know that you all already know how to learn to use new tools because you've done that your whole career. So let's get started. We'll start with a pulse check. How would you describe your AI experience? The poll should be popping up on your screen, so go ahead and select. All right, coming
We've
in,
got a
coming
great
in.
mix. Got a great
Yeah.
mix of the results coming in. We'll share it in a bit here. I'll keep the poll open for a few more seconds here. All right. Last chance. Get your pulse checks in here and we'll stop it. All right. The poll has officially ended.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we're kind of split mostly in the middle, B and C, with I've tried it a handful of times and I use it pretty regularly. Nice, we do have one robot in the house. All right, exiting off of that here.
So, Sarah, we have to do the same exercise. How would you describe your AI experience?
Yeah, great question, Chris. So I would say I'm in the C camp. I use it pretty regularly, but I don't feel like I'm full on bot yet. I still start my day. Um, Still very much a pen and paper, like write things out analog style, which I know is probably not the most effective, but it's just the way my brain still works. Um, and looking at this five stages of adoption little cartoon, I thought that was pretty funny. I definitely was an early adopter of AI, but I think I was not that impressed with it early on with like how it could be useful for my job. I felt like, oh, it's not really that great at writing. It's not really that good at design. Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is really going to be, all that in a bag of chips. Um, Not sure if I really went through anger and depression with it, but but I think I am at full acceptance, and it is really exciting seeing all that it can do. What about you, Chris? Are you?
I think I have one bot companion in the chat with me, so I think I'm fully on that side of it. I started at Operations Hero with little AI experience. I mean, I think the most AI coverage I had was a tool called Fathom, and it was more of like a video when you were doing videos or conferences or anything, it was taking notes during the video, but I never had like experience using a chat or anything that could change the way that I operate and work. And so I really leaned heavily in the past 6 months, and I'd say really the last 4 months, even at another level. And so I don't want to do my job anymore if it doesn't include some AI assistance. That's how strongly I think it's so great in the way that it's helped me design and push things forward. So Yeah, I also didn't get the anger or the denial, but I did with a design. Um, I did try to use some early models that were not too design friendly, and seeing the robot try to create some things in those earlier days were just kind of like, wow, this is not going to help me in my job. But then I've totally flipped, so I'm now acceptance on that five five mark there.
I love it. Well, I think what's really inspiring to me, Chris, about your story is that like I thought you were going to say like, oh, I was one of the founders of an AI company, like because you've taught me so much in the work that we've done together. So if you're out there and you're like, wow, this seems like everything is moving so fast, I don't know if I can catch up. I mean, look, Chris went from like in 6 months to now he's building prototypes and building like all these awesome things with AI super fast. So it's inspiring to me and makes me want to double down and learn more too. Awesome. And Liz, I have lost the chat. I don't know. I can't get it pulled up. So,
I have the chat, but if anyone has a question, feel free to drop it in there and we'll interject and answer those for you. So anything comes up, just drop it in there.
thanks, Liz. And so now I'm going to ask you to get back in the chat. And I want you to look at these examples I have on the slide here and tell me which of these have you used? And if it's all of them, that's fine. You can say all, or if you just want to pick one or two. So up here, I have Waze and Google Maps, Face ID for your iPhone, Amazon, specifically thinking about, product recommendations, Netflix and Spotify, email spam filters, and autocorrect. So jump in the chat and tell us, do you use any of these?
Let's see. Most are saying all, but definitely the map, space, autocorrect, Netflix. Yeah,
Okay, and I got my chat pulled up too, by the way.
yeah.
I found it. Awesome. Okay, so I'm seeing all or 4 out of 6 or yes, right?
Mhm.
So Face ID and autocorrect, I use all of these and more.
Okay.
So guess what? Those are all AI products, every single one of them. So you're probably using AI a lot more than you even realize.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of like two flavors of how AI can present itself. And so this kind of slide is talking through embedded features or tools that you may not know are there. You're not talking to them to try to get an interaction, but they're just there and they're working. So that left side, when you think about those Amazon recommendations, they've been working that for 10 plus years, and I can promise you I spent a lot more money on Amazon because of those recommendations that pop up, things that you never thought you knew or needed. And the other side, we've left some terms on here to kind of talk through and hopefully demystify a little bit of the terminology. You may have heard large language models, the LLMs as the vernacular, and really it's just the conversational nature of what these allow because they reason and think. So you can have a conversation about a topic or ask them to perform a task or generate something, an output, and it'll have a conversation with you. It thinks about the problem, and it will then go and execute that. And so when we think about a model, that's what they are. They're trained to be kind of generalists. And I think I read recently an article, I believe the amount of text content that gets fed to like these backing models, that all of these on the right-hand side, they each have different ones, but the backing models, the amount of text, I think it would take like over 2,500 years or 3,000 years to read through all of that text content because it's so much that they put into it and it can hold so much. But it's a generalist. It's been trained to be a generalist, and I think the important thing for the continuation of how you think and use AI, you are the expert in your. We always talk about it, the human in the loop, and we want to be a part of the process every step of the way. And so just remember, you're the expert. It's a generalist. It knows a lot, but you the one that kind of drives it to it's a better result. And so I don't want to know what Grok, the Elon or the team over there has trained Grok to be backing with those 3,000 years of text content, but each one of these has a different kind of personality, if you will, and flavor of how they respond and you interact with them. So the household name, ChatGPT, one in-house one that we use is Claude, and that's by Anthropic. And so I think they're fighting for somewhat of the household name. I don't know if anyone saw the Super Bowl, the commercials. They spent millions of dollars to get an ad that's running to prime time to everybody, and I think their positioning was that they would never run marketing during a chat conversation. It's actually quite a funny advertisement. You should go look at their advertisement. It was really funny. And the other ones, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, and like I said, Grok. Those are some of the ones that are out there as like conversational chat assistants. And I think a lot of these have free plans that you can use if you just want to go ask it a question or experiment with one of them. And then they have pay-per-use plans. So these are all based on, in other words, you'll hear tokens, and that's kind of just the currency of how these assistants operate. So the more tokens you use, the more expensive the plan will be. And think about the different operations. If you just ask it a simple question, what's the weather today? It's not going to use a lot of tokens. But if you said, analyze this spreadsheet of 1,000 rows to do something with, that's going to burn a lot more. So that's kind of how you can think about the pricing and the payment for these. And the other thing, you may want to check with your district that you may already have access to something. So Gemini is a popular one, Copilot's another one. These may be ones that you already have available. So yeah, just think about that as you start your journey.
That's great, Chris. Yeah, and I like how you walked through this because right now I think there are more AI tools coming out like every day. I know I've been getting like targeted Instagram ads for like all of these AI tools, and it can be overwhelming, right? And then especially you hear people saying Claude, Anthropic in the news, right? Or OpenAI and ChatGPT. And if you're not really in that world, it can be kind of confusing, like, okay, wait, who owns what, right? Where does this fit into my work? So most education, whether you're higher ed or K-12, are either Google or Microsoft shops most of the time, right? I was a previous teacher myself and we were Microsoft. That was way before AI, though. We didn't have anything cool like that. But most of you probably have access to either Copilot or Gemini within your current product suite. So you can check and see what you already have access to. Yeah, and Anne Marie, I've got the comments, the questions pulled up here. I love what you said, Anne Marie, about writing out the your actual goals. Like I think that was maybe in response to what I was saying, and that helps validify. I do believe in that as well, right? Like, and I think everybody thinks and processes information slightly differently. So, but it's all about, I think, what we're trying to get to today and in the coming sessions is really breaking down the tools that you have available and then really deciding like what is best for me. How do I want to use this? So for example, in my work, I'm in marketing. So, we write a lot of emails, we create a lot of PowerPoints, right? We write a lot of blogs, we're doing a lot of writing. And in some ways, AI is super helpful for that. I have to spend a lot of time though feeding our Claude, like feeding it examples of my personal writing, feeding it examples and feeding it our tone of voice documents, getting those like optimized for AI. So yes, it does in the long term save me time, especially if I want to write like a big long email sequence or lots of other information that's all around like the same topic. But it's not just like I can't just tell AI to do that and then trust the very first thing that it spits out, right? So it is like you have to think about like, okay, this is saving me time in the long run, but for this specific task, do I want to use AI or not? So for me, for writing emails, I usually, if it's just an email, like your all's emails for this workshop, I just type them out. And for the follow-up emails, because to me, that's a really short email. I already know what I want to say. I don't really want to use AI for that, right? Because to me, that's just a lot of back and forth. It takes me less time to just write the email. Um, so you'll learn as you use AI, like, okay, do I want to use my own brain for this, right? Or do I want to rely on AI and how can AI be most helpful for me? Okay, Chris, tell us some more. Dive in a little bit more about what AI is.
Yeah, you all are going to get tired of all my metaphors and similes and the way I process information visually and thinking about things. But the idea here is that I wanted to kind of describe two kind of fancy words that you'll hear, deterministic and indeterministic. And the first time I heard that, I was kind of like, well, what exactly does that mean? And it kind of relates to exactly how AI processes information and uses that information. So it's not a vending machine. So set the stage, you're late in the day, you need a little pick me up, you need a snack, you walk into the snack room and you look at a vending machine and you click B4 and B4 spins the coils and or if it's a newer machine it just pops it out and it goes down and you have a bag of Doritos. You come back the next day the exact same thing, you press B4, it spins the coils, it drops the Doritos. And you keep doing this over and over each day. You're always going to get Doritos when you hit B4. It's kind of a mechanical operation. And even more so, it's just going to actually spin the coils. So your output from this machine is deterministic from you pressing B4. Now, why I say this is not how AI works, because it is not a vending machine. That is not the kind of experience that you're going to have. It's indeterministic. And what I mean by that is that let's reimagine that we walk back into that snack room. We go to the vending machine, but there's a computer on the right, and it's got a chat assistant opened up, and you type in, what should I eat from the vending machine? Well, you may get a bag of Doritos. Okay, great. You come back the next day, you go, what should I eat from the vending machine? And it suggests a candy bar. Again, over and over, you may get those different results as you come to the AI assistant. And I think that's the kind of power and knowledge that you should have to know what you should be giving it to get the result that you want. So maybe if it had any little bit more context to it, you could come up to it and say, I'm not looking for anything sweet. I would like something savory. And you're limited just hugely the output of what it's going to get. And it's going to be more accurate to what you need and want. So that's kind of the visual or the kind of metaphor between this kind of deterministic push a button, get the result versus let me have a conversation and give it more context and more information that then it can give me a better result. So that's how I think about the differences between those two. And I think it really comes down to how good the data is that you're putting into these systems and you're giving it to these assistants for it to operate and to function against. So you can relate this to like CMMSs out there with your data quality. Think about all of your assets that you have that you're tracking. Are the warranties up to date? Or is the information the most recent information? Did you get an FCA done and that was 10 years ago and you really needed another one because that's stale information now. So any data that you have to operate off of, it's going to give you so much better results the better the data is. And I think that kind of goes into the next one here around the other metaphor. I told you to get tired of my metaphors, is the kind of family tree around data. You imagine that the you here, let's put me in here. Who is John Smith to me? Well, John Smith looks to be my nephew in this scenario. Um, but if my parents ever went to this and they said, well, who is John Smith to them? The context largely different. If you just went into AI and said, who is John Smith? You're probably going to get Captain John Smith, who the English explorer author from Virginia. So like context really matters so much because AI is, like I said, a generalist. It's trained to just have all this knowledge. You are in the driver's seat. You're the guide to get the information that you want with the context. And so you hear us talk about context, and that's probably a very popular word in AI. And for those already in your journey, like this is actually quite an important topic, is because also imagine that you just have this empty desk and it can only hold so much information. So if we wanted the AI assistant to know about our family tree, that's a full piece of paper that's put on the desk and now it's taking up space. Then I ask it more information about the family tree. That's more papers that are stacking up on this desk until you run out of like your desk space. That's the exact same way AI works. And so depending on how much you're asking from it or how much information you're getting it to process or what you want it to have context of, like Sarah was talking about her tone of voice for her emails, that's taking up that space. And so as you get less and less of that space available, the results get um, worse, or they kind of start to go off rails. So sometimes it's good to reset and start again with a fresh session and a fresh context. So that's just something to think about and hopefully how you can relate how it operates off of data and what you give it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. That's one of the frustrations I've had with working with AI. Have any of you all experienced that? Where you're like, you're making progress in a chat And then it's like it just starts, especially with trying to get it to design something. Like I've noticed, like it'll start off really strong, but then if I give it more document, more information, like, oh, I want to add this data or I want to add a map or something, it just will start to really, like quickly go off the rails, so to speak. And it can be frustrating, but I found when I start a new chat and put that information in the new chat, then it's like it gives it a little refresher and it does better. Have any of you all experienced that?
And while we wait for those answers to come in, if you go to the next slide, I'm sure they've all experienced this. So imagine that you just received a work order with like these two summaries. Hopefully, there's no teachers on the call, but I'm sure this probably came from some teacher. So the thing by the door is broken. Fix the water fountain. Kids are complaining. Like these are extremely vague. And so it's the exact same way of which like you want to talk to these AI assistants. Like which thing? Like what pencil is it? The pencil sharpener? Is it the access panel? The intercom? Like what is the thing that's broken and what building is it in? Where are we located at? So like it's gonna have to infer so much information from these like vague inputs. And so if we go to the next slide and think about like with guidance, so these are much better for thinking about it has so much context. So the crash bar on the south entrance of building C won't latch. The door is a fire exit and it needs to be fixed today. Like you already have priority. You know that this work order is some in the location of building C, made up name, but you know exactly what's happening here. So think about this in the way that you interact with AI is the more vague you are, the more it's going to have to think for you. And you, like I said, you are the expert. You're in the driver's seat. So give it as much information as you can, and then you're going to get the output, and it's going to save a bunch of time and headache.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. Um, so a quick word before we get into some more specifics around how to use AI in your specific work and what you do. Um, a little quick word about guardrails. So, and we'll get into a little bit more of this in the next section, and there will be a section for you to kind of fill out and think about your own personal and campus specific guardrails. But just we often get the question like, and I know when I, started here, like I asked our people in charge, like, hey, what can I give AI, right? What can I put into it? So the four-part little like pulse check is don't put anything in AI that you wouldn't put in an email, right? So like students, data, information, not going to put that into AI. Check your policies. Your campus may already, your district may already have a policy around staff AI usage. And then, start low, start with tasks where you're not giving it a ton of data or a ton of information. And then also just loop in your IT department early and let them know. It's always best to say, hey, I'm using this AI. This is what I'm hoping to accomplish with it. And I'm sure they'll be on board and be happy to be partners in that. Um, and what I said this at the top of our session, but really think about AI is really another tool in your toolbox. So I think about it in terms of three things: saving me time, leveling up my team, and unlocking data. So those are the three most powerful things that it can do for you. So I asked my question like, okay, what am I doing in my work every day that's eating up a lot of my time? How can I level up my small team, right? And how can I really like unlock data to help me do my job better? And
Yeah,
Chris,
I think that's a good segue into really the next section here of like starting with the problems. So, when you were talking about thinking about those time savers or thinking about like what is keeping me from doing the most valuable work that I could be doing, where I'm just doing tons of busy work or tons of manual effort. And so it's leading with those problems that we really want everyone to think about Before it's like, well, what is the best tool for what I'm trying to solve? It's like, well, what exactly are you trying to do first? And then that's also great like conversation and ground for us as, innovators in a CMMS workflow of how can we also think about that within our own tool sets to help you even more and bake in, like we said, those embedded features alongside some of this like cool chat conversational side of it.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. And I know I've heard you say something, I don't want to quote you and get it wrong, but I've heard you often talk about how AI can level up anyone, right? So if you were a chef, right? If you're a beginning chef, then it can help you with recipe building or researching all these different recipes around the world or whatever your angle is, right? If you're a super experienced chef, well, it's going to help you level up, right? So wherever you are in your career journey, it can help you, but it's never going to replace you. It's never going to do the actual day in and day out of work that you do. So go ahead and jump in the chat and tell us what's something as you're thinking right now, what is a task that that takes up a lot of your time that you would love to just like give to somebody else?
While these answers come in, I can also give you a little bit of what's been, eating my world the last several months is I'm working on the new product feature sets for our capital planning tool. And so this is really a data-driven feature set that has just a lot of inputs and a lot of different outputs of like what you want to do with the data. So I got thrown, man, I don't know, probably 50 facility condition assessments, so many master's facility plans, like all in spreadsheets, different also I think spreadsheets that have been around maybe 10 years with each tab below it, a different year, a different fiscal year in each one of the tabs. And so I was really trying to focus on all of these different inputs that want to come into this system. Like, how can the assistant help me understand what are the differences? What are the similarities between these data formats? Like, what could feature sets look like that would cover all of the needs across, these several different clients? And so it was really powerful for me as an analyzing tool for massive amounts of spreadsheet data and then able to like take it and to pivot things my own self to generate reports on what that is, to visualize differences. So that was like just a massive time saver. I'd probably still be working on our capital planning prototype if I didn't have that in the early beginning of that project.
Yeah, that's a great example, Chris. Hey, Liz, what is everyone saying in the chat?
So we have budget analysis, coding invoices to the proper account, planning weekly dinner menus, which I think everybody can relate to, chargebacks, reviewing queued work orders to determine if it needs to be started or if it needs to be followed up on. Another person said coding invoices, report review, and trying to capture work orders that are missed or been sitting there for long periods of time.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think I got the chat pulled back up again. I think Colby said capturing work orders or missed reports.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, tell us, how can AI help with that?
Yeah, so this is actually from one of our real clients and a real example from what he was using. So he was hooked up to our AI connector, which actually you don't need it for this type of exercise, but it gives you instant access to all of the Operations Hero data. But say you have a spreadsheet, and so say you export out all of that information around your work orders that have been done in the last, or trailing 12 months, whatever you want to look at it from a time frame. He was able to pull all of that information across several different workflows. So it was just one major exporter. For his case, he was actually hooked up to Operations Hero and across 70 facilities, and it could flag anything over 60 days, and it could show them the average age by workflow, can generate those reports to see which are the ones that are meaningfully blocked or not meaningfully blocked. So you can actually pull in comments. So there's like so many different things that you can analyze this. And you can see this little example. This is actually a chat response. And so what you can do is take this to the next level is that, okay, it analyzed 2,800 workflow orders. Let me see all of this information it's given us here. But then you can just reprompt it and say, okay, I want to see this in this way, or I want to analyze this versus previous year, or I want to generate a report and show me a pie chart of this so I can give it to my, finance person, or not finance, or anybody, in the organization. So I think it's like super powerful to think about just not only the initial prompt, but then having a conversation around analyzing it and then also an output to something that you can tangibly give to people.
Yeah, great. And y'all, I apologize that the slide keeps moving back and forth. My smart mouse is way too sensitive sometimes. I barely touched it and it's like skipping slides. So what keeps getting put, another question that we like to think about a lot in terms of like what's the best way to use AI is what keeps getting put on the back burner or falling through the cracks. For me in my work lately, it's been social media. That's been the thing that I'm like, oh yeah, I need to post, right? Oh yeah, I got to create a social media for this. So what about you in your world? Go ahead and tell us in the chat. What's a task or something that you're like, oh man, just keeps getting put to the back burner? And it might be similar to the previous question, but we'll keep, I know for time's sake, we'll keep rolling, Chris. Show us another example from the field.
Yeah, I know preventative maintenance is one that probably sticks out to a lot of you around what kind of has gotten on the back burner or maybe understanding all of the assets that are within the organization of the different PMs against each one of those assets. And so this is a great way to just, use an assistant to ask them directly. I have a Train Voyager 12 and a half ton rooftop unit model XYZ here, and can you build me a full preventative maintenance schedule on this? And so, it'll easily go cross-reference the manuals and all the information associated with that unit, and then it will give you, your monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual scheduling that you can do. So this is something that you don't need any integrations to anything to just talk to an assistant to ask them a specific model number. And then this is also one of the really cool ones that we have built directly into Operations Hero, where you don't have to leave it. So you can just go in your phone, you're operating off of an asset or you're doing a work request for that asset. You can then see what your preventative maintenance is on there, or if you're the one setting up the preventative maintenance, you can get an assisted way of setting that up directly in the app. So it's really cool, and there's a lot of tools out there that can leverage the embedded versus just the assistant side of it here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
sorry, Sarah. That's also what they're mentioning in the chat. Janice said that they started QR coding their assets and now they just need to create that PM schedule. And Jared is saying the routine inspections and cleaning of mechanical equipment and same thing with Benson, routine inspections, PM scheduling. So I think that's a universal thing for everybody. Let's
yeah,
see.
it
Yeah,
totally.
Emily created a dashboard for her team so they can access everything all in one place. So that is nice. That's actually a really smart thing to do. And
Yeah,
now it's outdated, so she needs to redo it. Oh
always.
yeah, we've all been there.
It's true. And then our third question in this series is, what do only one or two people know how to do? Or maybe it's you. Maybe you have all this knowledge about one specific thing, and then you've got new people coming in, and they don't know that. So what's one or two, what's a thing, whether that's like a skill set or it could be like a specific knowledge or data set. I know for us and our team, I was just thinking about this. There's quite a few different examples I think we could give Chris, but um, like for instance, just like building out slide decks is something that a lot of times like has always just like fallen on marketing to create like the initial slide deck for people. And I know in our company, that's something that really has been kind of democratize, if you will, because now using Claude, anyone can. So you have the brand colors and you've got, your logos, you got your tone of voice. You can go in there and give it all of that and create your own slide deck really quickly and easily. So that's like a skill set. And then I'm relatively new and I have a background in education. I've worked in various ed tech fields, but I was new to the CMMS specific world. And so when I joined, I used AI to like import large reports and large chunks of information that would have taken me a long time to read through. And then I actually had AI like quiz me on things. So I would ask AI to like be my teacher and create like little quizzes and tests for me to like teach me about this specific industry. So that's another thing that you can use it for.
Awesome.
All right. Jared said coding invoices and prioritizing capital projects. Amory processing invoices for approval. This is a big one. Benson said maintenance supervisor who has been at the school for almost 30 years is retiring soon. So he wants to try to get everything out of his head and onto something digital, which I think everybody can relate to because once you're seasoned, people are leaving. You want all of their information so you can maintain it and keep going on your day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one that we've heard from several different clients as well. And so, one of the things that I think, and we're showing an example of it that could help here, is whenever all of that domain knowledge of an error code or this particular unit that they know there's something particularly wrong with it, or they know if they wiggle it 3 times, it may start kicking back on or something. But the that knowledge is very hard to get that out of their head. And so here we're showing like the assistant here where if you said this boiler is throwing error code 2 with 2 flashes, what does that mean and what should I check first? Like an AI assistant will be able to understand exactly what it needs, diagnose that live with you. And so maybe some of your newer techs or maybe that expert is in a different school or not available at that time, hopefully not fully retired, so still available. But this is just ways in which that you can, get some diagnostics from an AI assistant while you're trying to work a work request. And so we've seen some success with it. We actually have a tool embedded in the software that actually does this directly in the app. And so we've just recently launched that and seen some success from this, but this is one of the cool ways in which you can use an assistant for.
Great example, Chris. All right, and we're about to wrap up. I know we're getting close to time. So, Chris, let's go through a few quick examples of other ways to use AI.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I heard a bunch of people talking about invoices and coding invoices and receipt parsing and all this kind of stuff. So there's kind of a funny story, just really quickly. I know we're going to run out of time, but my girlfriend, she piggybacks off of my Costco membership. So we always have a full-on receipt that has duplicate purchases across so many different things that we're both buying or both have been interested in buying. And so I didn't know what was possible with AI at the time. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to send this receipt to AI and see if it will break it out for me and tell me which one of my purchases and which one were her purchases. So I gave it a very simple prompt. I was like, if it shows up multiple times in the invoice or in invoice, it can be an invoice in the receipt, then it's likely something that needs to be split. And if not, you can just assign it to me. And so it took that, it parsed it, it separated everything out, and now I have like a session or chat window that I can always come back to and upload another receipt to. But it's a full in-browser little receipt parser, and you can flip-flop which one is my purchases and which one are her purchases. So it was like really cool about like a parsing ability of these agents. And so like if you think about this in context to what you guys are saying, we've had this for quite some time now about like this reading of invoices around work requests. So any of these work requests that have a bunch of different work and these invoices need to be parsed, like a lot of ways you can just feed this and it will read it. It will encode the line items inside of the tool and it'll associate all of that cost directly in the work request. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with it's called OCR for anyone that really wants another fancy word. And it's just the reading of the receipt and parsing the information. And I guess that leads into a few more of kind of like the AI problem space that we've kind of been trying to solve in our tool sets. And it's really around these kind of six core features that we currently have. And it's really trying to get you guys more time to repair and less of the busy work that's associated. So we started with problems before we developed any of these features. And it's the asset tagging. So you can just take a picture, get the asset encoded. You can do preventative maintenance procedures that will be written for you or predicted that you should be doing these items directly in the app. Recently, over the Christmas, we delivered deduplication, so it can catch you those costly work order duplications that would be a mess in your data, and it helps you kind of clean it up, and you can condense that down to just one work order. The receipts parsing, just talked about. The error codes, we just had an example of live diagnostics where you can just kind of like actually talk to an assistant directly in the app. And then the latest one that we're kind of like thinking is our big picture plan for how we can stay in line with the AI innovation so much because they're moving so fast is that we've developed the ability where you can take a USB, not a USB, you can metaphorically plug into all of Operations Hero data and then use AI assistants to operate off of that data without exporting the information out of the system or importing that to import spreadsheets to have a conversation. So that's kind of all the problem spaces that we've kind of been working on at Operations Hero.
And I see some questions coming in the chat. We're almost to the Q&A session, so we'll just finish this up and then we'll address those questions. So it looks like we have some good stuff. So possibilities really are limitless at this time. It's really about thinking about what does AI do really well and what problems do I want to solve. So really, I like to think about it in like four ways that AI is really powerful. One, it's really great at writing and editing. Two, it's really good at researching and analyzing specific topics. Three, it's really good at brainstorming and planning. So there you go. There's your menu plan. You now have a personal chef. Well, maybe not a chef, but at least a menu planner. It's great for saying like, hey, I have chicken and Brussels sprouts and cheese. What should I make for dinner, right? Or whatever. Giving you some ideas about that. And it's really good at working with files, at looking through and upload. Like if you upload files, it's really good at looking through that. So I have a cool example, and Chris, I don't even think you've heard this yet. So about how to use AI as well is last year there was this hidden treasure game. I don't know if it's really called a game, but anyway, some of you may have been involved with it. It was in Western North Carolina, and this guy hid treasure, and it was like $30,000 or something, maybe even more. And um, people were looking for it. So my husband is a big hiker. We lived in Western North Carolina then, and he had lived there since for like over, 20 some years. And he has spent much of that time hiking and foraging, and he's a guide. He leads people on foraging guides. So he was really into this. He's like, I can find this. If anybody can find it, I can find it. Well, he didn't find it. But he was analyzing this. They had like a drone footage and whatnot. So long story short, the people who found it used AI. And that wasn't cheating, and they were honest about it. So what they did was they used the drone footage and used AI with Google Earth and other satellite image maps to actually map the footage of like where it was. My husband was actually super close, so I'm proud of him with just his regular skills. But yeah, another cool way to use AI, you might find some hidden treasure. So.
Nice.
So before we jump over to the Q&A, you have a little bit of homework. So like I said, you'll be getting your AI readiness plan. You'll just be able to click that link and it will create a copy that's specific for you to be able to fill out. And then also, our homework for you is to just start using AI if you haven't already. It sounds like most of you are already using it. But we give you an example prompt here, but use something you've learned today and try it out. Okay, Q&A. So, Alan said, who is the subject matter expert, that one person that everyone goes to for answers? How do we get that knowledge out of that person's mind and into the hard drive? What do you think, Chris? What's a good way to actually download all that information?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one if it's just in their head and there's no information to already go off of. And so I think there are ways in which you can prompt AI or have AI communicate to that person, and then you can pull that information out of their head. So asking them the right questions. So I would suggest like there's a way that you can say, I want to set up a plan to interview, this retiring person and give it context around who they are, what their operations are, what they're responsible for, what they've generally been doing, and create me a list of questions that I can then interview them and get that information out. And then you can also have it document you along the way with you, so you then are digitizing it along with the interview process. And that can be something that you can like actually have it or have the person interact with AI, or you could just run the interview and you could have an AI assistant with you that you're just kind of cataloging all that information. It's a starting point. It's not going to be perfect, but you got to pull the information out of their head in some way. And so that is a tactic, as an interview style tactics, almost like an exit interview. But that would be one way, a suggestion of just trying to start as a starting point.
And Chris, would all of that need to be like typed out, or could they use recordings?
So that's a good point. So it depends on the tool of the AI. There are a lot of different versions out there that allow you to encode videos or transcripts, just the text content. So I don't know off the top of my head all of the types of that will do video encodings, but you can always take a transcript. So say you recorded it, and I think naturally they generate transcripts from the recording. You can take that text transcript and give it to AI and it'll read it no problem. So like Claude, for instance, I'm the most familiar with Claude because I've been using it for so long. They operate on text content where you couldn't upload a video to them, but there's a lot of tools out there that also will allow you to just have video content that then it will generate the transcripts for you, and you can use it in that way too. So you don't have to type everything out either.
Oh, good tips. Liz, what are some other questions in the chat?
Um, Anne Marie had asked, is AI already live in Operations Hero or is it a separate module? And I can answer that one. Yes, it is live. It is already embedded into Operations Hero. You can also go to operationshero.ai to look at some more of those, so to get some more information from that. But Chris, do you want to tell us what all is in Operations Hero that they can see through with the AI?
Yeah, and so I mean, if you go back to the slides, that was really the less busy work, more fixing was around all of our AI feature sets. So call back to early on in the slide deck, whenever we were talking about embedded versus the kind of LLM side, the conversational AI, these are all of the aspects that we currently have. So the automatic asset tagging, like I mentioned, the preventative maintenance is AI in there giving you access to what should be the preventative maintenance for whatever manufacturer, whatever unit. The deduplication, like all these are embedded in there. The two that are conversational are going to be the stuck on an error code, so those live diagnostics, and Stefan already has called it out. The Hero Assist is the name of it, and that's where you can actually interact inside of the application and ask it, I'm seeing error code XYZ, and it will give you a diagnostic of what is the problem, and that's all inside of the application. You never have to leave it. You're still in there. And the other one that I kind of mentioned around you can bring your own AI assistant. So if you have ChatGPT or if you have Claude, these are the two that work right now with it. You can bring those AI assistants, connect them to the Operations Hero data, and then you can do all of the features that your assistant has by processing all of the data that lives in your CMMS. So that's kind of like our AI suite at a high glance there, is around those like six core feature sets.
Thanks, Chris. Liz, do we have any other questions in the Q&A?
I think that is it.
All right, excellent. And I think we said this was only going to be 45 minutes, so we're 5 minutes over. So, any other questions? Give everybody just a few more seconds. Well, if you think of anything, our door is always open. I've got our emails here. It's Sarah at Operations Hero, Chris at Operations Hero, or Elizabeth at Operations Hero. So we are always open to your questions, always open to helping. And thank you so much for spending your morning with us. Brandon, what does sessions 2 and 3 look like? More details coming soon. We do have a save the date for next month. So session two will be April 23rd. And session two, we're going to dive a little bit more into the specific AI tools that will be most helpful for you and your work, and also a little bit more specifics around guardrails and how to like most safely use AI within your district. So this was really foundational, like what is AI? What are the different tools? And then next time we'll get into a little bit more specifics. And then by session three, you should be ready to go at your school with your AI readiness plan. That's our goal. So be on the lookout for that email. Should be this afternoon, unless we have some sort of like recording, downloading delays, which you never know. But my goal is to get that email out to you this afternoon with the recording and with your AI readiness guide link. And more details about sessions two and three coming soon. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Gordon. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next month.